Hey there, team, and welcome back. My name is Tiffany Kennedy, and I am the founder of the Intelligent Project Manager, LLC. In today's session, we are going to take a look at creating WorkForms using Monday.com. So starting off, if you've never used WorkForms in Monday.com, in a nutshell, they are a customizable tool that allows you to collect structured data from users, both internally and externally to your account. Users can fill out forms with relevant details that you need to collect. Those details are then automatically synced with your Monday.com board, or you can incorporate them any which way that you'd like to into your workflow. But essentially, they make collecting data and then analyzing that data more organized and accessible. So first things first, let's talk about how we start the process of creating a form and how you can access them. So I'm going to show you one of two ways. The first thing that you're going to want to do is create a board. So I've gone ahead and created a board, and I've named that board Employee Training Assessment. To then get to a form, you can do it one of two ways. Now, I will caveat and say that in order to access forms in Monday.com, you will need a Monday.com account. If you already have one, that's fantastic. Absolutely follow along with me as we work through this example. If you don't have a Monday.com account, it's no problem. There's a link in my description. Click on it. You can try a free trial of the software, and that way you get the hands-on experience as well as we work through this example. So on my screen, the first way that we can access WorkForms is we can click at the very top menu to the left-hand side of the screen. We see our installed products, and then we can come down to WorkForms, click on it, and it'll take you to the WorkForms hub. The second way that we can access forms is after we've created our initial board, which is the main table that we're looking at right now. I can click on Add View, come down to Form, as you see right here, and then we can click on Form. Just like that, our form is created. So let's rename our tab so that it coincides with what we are creating, so that when we go to navigate, we can easily find this later. And I'm going to keep it simple. And name that the Employee Training Assessment form. So we can start building out our form from the forms view. And another thing that's worth noting is if I were over here in my main table, going back to what I was speaking about in terms of having that information automatically synced, if I were to create a column here on my board, let's say I just wanted to do some test text. This column is now something that would be accessible on my board. If I went to edit form, no, we're not going to worry about restricting form access. I'm not going to be adding people. But as you can see, my test text shows up down here at the bottom, and I have the option of whether or not I want to show or hide that to my users. So before we even start building out our form, let's talk through some best practices so that we can get the most out of our users on the first pass. So what I mean by that is use clear and concise questions. Our questions should be straightforward and easy to understand. We also want to make sure that we're using a logical flow. So organize questions in a way that makes sense and follows a logical progression for your users. Use conditional logic to help better guide your user. So in this example, we are going to show and hide options for our users based on responses. We might ask follow-up questions to, again, get the most information that we can. We don't want to exhaust the user with too many options and too many questions, but we want to make sure that we are presenting them with the information that they need or the guidance that they need to properly fill out our form. We also want to make sure that we use and provide clear instructions. So provide guidance on how to fill out that form. So in this example, where you see the ask for descriptors, I am going to take the time to make sure that we add some description so that the user knows exactly what I'm looking for, especially when we have fields that are open-ended, such as text fields. We want to make sure that they know exactly how we want them to fill this out. And then last but not least, we always want to do some kind of QA. So test your form as if you were the person that was going to be providing this data. And that helps you with identifying any issues, making sure that you have a solid process in place, and ideally getting the buy-in that you need, because this is something that is easy for your user to use. They know what you expect, and they know that it works. So let's go ahead and get started. We have our title created for our form. Let's add a form description. And this doesn't have to be overly complicated. I'm just going to put a brief, what are we looking for with the use of this form? So the training needs assessment form, or the there. We are letting the users know what we want. So we want to understand your training and your training preferences and your requirements. Simple. It describes what we're looking for. I'm going to then change this to full name. And let's provide that example. So we want it to, again, be clear and concise. So, and let's provide an example. I'm going to set this to required because I would like to see the employee's name so that if I need to follow up, I know exactly who we're looking to follow up with. Or you can use other fields as well. You can use user ID, you can use email. We're just going to keep it straightforward here, and I think this will suffice for right now. So status, we're not actually going to be using a status. So let's save this. And let's go back to our main table, and I'm going to get rid of the status column. And let's also get rid of that text column. So now we're left with the date and the employee name. So we're back over in our form, and we have our full name, and then we have the date. So let's add some more fields here. So I think we can probably put a drop down, and let's do a single select. And I am going to put department. And same thing, provide that instruction. Let's be even clearer. And same thing. And let's put some options in here. As I started off with marketing, I'm going to lead with that. Maybe finance, HR. Let's add a couple more so we have some variety. Okay, I think 5 will suffice. So we have some departments on the board. Let's make this required, and let's add a condition. So if the user selects finance, just because that's the first one that populated, this is our first opportunity to add that conditional logic that I was speaking about in the beginning of our session. So if the person is in finance, let's add another drop-down column. And I'm going to just say, please select, or actually, let's name this job title. And down here in my descriptor, or in my instructions, let's do the same thing. Please select, can't spell today, your current job title. And let's give an example. Now, I think after the first couple of times, we probably don't need to keep putting the EGs, but again, we want to be very clear with what we expect from our user. So I'll put accountant. Excellent. So let's talk through this workflow within our form really quickly. What we have here is our drop-down menu for department. Right now, we're working on setting up some conditional logic for if a user selects finance, what they will be prompted to do once they select finance. We're going to do the same thing for all the other categories or departments within this selector. And then we are going to essentially make it so that if a person selects any department, they see jobs that are specific to their department. They don't have to go scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. It's right there at their fingertips based on what the information that they give us. So let's put some finance roles in here. That looks good to me. And we'll make this required. And so now we can add another condition. So instead of finance this time, let's do marketing. And I only have to type in the M. The form knows that I am working off of this question still. So it's going to help me by making it easier, depending on what I intend to do. It's going to bring up the options that I've already populated within this question. So we have marketing, and let's do the same. We're going to add a single select, which is essentially a drop down. That's all we're doing here. Or sorry, not a drop down, but a bubble sheet, or I can't remember. It's been a while since I've had to take a standardized test, but you essentially just select your option here. Okay. So let's put the same thing, job title. And I am going to go through these. I'm going to speed this up so that you're not watching me continue to do the same. And then we'll talk through it once I'm completed. Okay. So now we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just verify that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excellent. So we have created our first question that depends on conditional logic. And one thing I want to call out is a very easy indicator to note whether or not you are using any form of conditional logic within your form is you will notice that the backgrounds of my questions, the very outer container, has been grayed out, and it's slightly indented as well. So we know that these 5 questions or sub-questions pertain to my original question. So let's preview this. Let's publish, and I'll just put it in a new tab. And let's see what we have so far. So I'm going to click on sales, job title. Please select your current job, sales manager. What do I see? Excellent. I don't have to scroll for anything. The information that I need is right in front of me as a user, and that makes me a happy camper. Let's test one more. Marketing, marketing manager. Excellent. So let's go back and continue to keep working on our form. Let's add some more questions here. Let's get into some more detail as we continue our progression. So, have you attended any training sessions in the past, let's say 90 days? Okay, so this is just going to be a simple yes or no. Delete that option. Yes. And no. Because we know how to add some conditional logic, let's add some more in. Okay, so if no, you know what, let's add another single select. And maybe we might want to get an idea of why a person might not have had the opportunity to attend training. So let's say if you haven't attended any trainings within the last 90 days, maybe ask what barriers have you had, have prevented actually let me rephrase this. What has been your main challenge to attending training in the last 90 days? And I want to approach this with positive intent. I want to understand what the barriers are, what the challenges are, so then maybe we can deep dive this and figure out how we can assist this employee, since they're clearly filling this out because they have some desire to train or to sharpen their skill set. We want to know what we can do to help remove that barrier. And if we see enough of the same responses, I think then that's indicative that there's something that we need to do with this data in order to minimize what we see. So select one of the following options, plain and simple. So maybe busy workload. Maybe training hasn't been available, or maybe training hasn't been available in a way that coincides with their calendar. So maybe let's put some calendar constraint in here. Calendar constraints. Maybe there's not enough coverage. So resource capacity or availability. There we go. Maybe we don't have the offerings that they want to see. So desired training not offered. And you know what? Let's see how we can put a condition within a condition. So let's select other. And what I want to have happen, let's make this required. Let's put in a condition here. So now you'll see that we have a nested condition. So let's select other. And let's put some text in here. And I want to link this to the other. I want this, the reason that I put other in here is I want, when I go back and look at my main table, I want to have clarity on what I am looking at. So we have the option for that person to select other. Then we'll prompt them to get some more information. And let's just put some, instructions in here. Please provide more details. And I think we can leave it at that. Please provide more details, period. So our form is coming together. Let's keep going. And let's make this required as well. Now, I am making these required for the purpose of when we go to demo actually QAing our form, we can see how each data point is collected and how that then shows up in our board. You don't have to make everything required. At the onset of any type of implementation, you want to make sure that you can drive the adoption in the early phases of this. But as we continue to get more mature and we have that adoption going, we definitely want to make sure that we can get more granular and more specific with the information that we seek, especially if we're looking to drive some kind of continuous improvement going forward. Okay, so let's add another condition. And this time, if the answer is yes, let's add in another long text, and please list the training sessions you attended. And let's do here. And let's put an EG here. So let's call it, I don't know, public speaking. Okay. So let's also set this to required so that we can test this out when we get to the end of building this out, and we can keep moving forward. So we have two sets of conditional logic here. So we have, if you select no, we understand the barriers. We have a condition within that condition. If someone selects other, we can get some more granularity in terms of what the barrier might have been, something that we don't currently have listed. And then moving down to, if the user selects yes, Then we want to get the name of the training session that was attended as well as the date. So let's add some more fields. Let's keep working our way downward. So we're using single select a lot, but we can also use multiple. So let's try that. Actually, no, let's go back to single. I'll save this for later. Let's just add in single select. We can drag this upward, reorder this as we'd like. Maybe we can ask, let's figure out how our employees want to be trained. So how do you prefer to receive training? Simple question. And same thing, please select an option. Please select an option. Sometimes I can be a little wordy and it's just not necessary. Okay, so let's see. Maybe we can do some in-person training. Webinars is always a great option. Maybe we can do some e-learning. E-learning courses. Because I capitalized that, let's go back up here and get that. So we have in-person workshops, we have webinars, and we have e-learning / online courses. So let's go back to where we started with adding in some conditions. And the more that you do this, the easier it becomes, especially as you want to become more advanced with what you are building out. And that's why I want to just keep going through the process of doing that to build that muscle memory. For in-person training, let's say we were let's say this was a business that had satellite offices in different cities. We would want to know where we have the most demand. And so actually, I think this is a great opportunity. I'm actually going to delete this, and we are going to make our conditional question a multi-select. And I will say select your preferred training location. And let's put in some options here. Okay, excellent. And I'm going to ask the user to just please select 2 options. Okay, let's make that required. And I think that this works. So in person, then you'll get a selection of areas that are a desired location for that employee. Let's add in another conditional piece to this question. So maybe for e-learning or online courses, let's add, maybe there's a specific platform that the user prefers. So let's do that as well. And we'll make this a multi-select as well. Okay. So please select your preferred platform. Let's put learning platform. I cannot type today. From the list below. Okay. So we have some options. Let's set that as required. We want our users to select the top 2. So let's look at this. And when I talk about a natural flow, I think we can actually, what might make more sense is if I had a question here asking users what are the things that they want to learn, and then asking them how they prefer to learn that. So let's put that in, and we can do another multi-select as well, because maybe we might not have enough offerings to go around. So knowing what their backup or what other options they might be interested in is worth exploring. So did I do a single select? All right, so let's get rid of that. Let's add another. Let's put in multi. What training opportunities are you currently interested in? And I think I'll do one more. And we can get as in depth and as advanced as we'd like to. We can add some conditional logic based on what our user selects, but I think this is it. I don't want this to be an exhaustive process for the user. I just want to be able to get the information needed to make some decisions here or to integrate with our other tools in the platform. So I think we're good there. Let's get rid of that. I had a blank question sitting out in space. Okay, so then this seems more logical to me. So what opportunities are you interested in? How do you prefer to receive that training? Maybe we can add one more. Maybe asking how often would you like to see? How often would you like to train, or how often would you like to see new offerings? Something along those lines. So how often do you believe training sessions should be conducted? Okay. Okay. So we have this, and let's do one last question. And let's do a long text for this. Maybe we haven't captured all of the detail, which is okay. That's okay. But we can use this as a catch-all for right now. So please, or is there anything else you would like to share? I think that works. Then let's say, please feel free to provide any feedback or information. Excellent. Then we have the answer. I'm going to set this to required. And let's now go back up and just do a full view of our work form. And so taking a look at the date, we can leave it as is for right now, or we can change the column to a date created column. Right now, that's what we're seeing as is, but it becomes helpful when we are looking at metrics somewhere down the line, and maybe we want to track the duration or the time spent between the time a assessment was filled out to the time that it was resolved, or a myriad of different things. So we'll leave this for right now, but I will add in a column that shows what I was just speaking about there too. Okay, so from the top, we have our employee training assessment. We can add in a logo if we wanted to. Let's actually, let's change the image, give it a little bit more interest. Same thing, we can change the colors. We can change the text color if we wanted to. We could change the color, the background of our form if we wanted to, just by clicking over color and selecting standard colors. So if you had branded colors that you wanted to use to match your business, organization, team, whatever, you have the option to do so there. Full name, we have that. The date that the form was filled out, some instructions on selecting department with our conditional logic based on the department that the user selects. We have whether or not the employee has been able to attend training in the last 90 days. We have two sets of conditions based on whether or not The user selects no or yes. And then within that no section, we then have another conditional formatting. We have another conditional response or question that asks them to then provide more data so that we can then use it to help them get to where they want to be in terms of being able to attend training. We have asked the user what their top interests are in terms of what they would like to learn. And the reason we selected a multi-select is so that if we don't have a current offering, if that offering is full, maybe there's another option that they can select based on what we have coming up in the pipeline. We asked our users how they want to receive training, and we've asked them based on if they select in person, the areas that they would like to travel to for training, or maybe what's closest to them is probably the more proper use case for this. We've asked them if they prefer e-learning or online, what platforms they might be most interested in using, so that we're using and spending our money in a way that makes sense based on what our users are asking us for. Okay. And then we've asked them how often they believe training should be conducted. Last but not least, if we haven't gotten everything that we need to from going down this form, we've asked them as a catch-all, hey, is there anything else that you would like to let us know? How else can we help you? So let's publish this. And now let's take a look at our form. So I can refresh the browser and it would catch up. Okay, thank you. It's just letting me know that I have new changes on my form. And here is our completed form. That's awesome. That is awesome. We can do some things. We can come over to customize. For instance, if we wanted to hide branding, we could. We could then change the text on the button. We can put in restrictions. Maybe we only want to have the person answer once. We have made all of our questions required, but maybe if we wanted to make this anonymous, for example, if I was asking for employees to provide feedback on how they think things are going, maybe we want to give them that assurance of having that anonymous option. That's a great use of that option within our form restrictions. Maybe we want to change the thank you screen. We can show the resubmit. Maybe someone had multiple entries that they wanted to submit. Maybe we want to hide that success menu. We can add in a specific option for where we want this information to go. And then we can select to have items created when someone submits this form. And so an item, if you remember, let's go back to our main table. Each horizontal row is an item of data. So I absolutely do want to have data come in and create or be able to use it in some type of way. And the way that I want that is within the form of an item. So let's change these group titles, maybe resolved requests, not resolved, resolved. And let's set this as active. Let's change the color here. So green is active. You can also click here and change your group color. So I kind of had a moment where it was just like, oh, which option do I want to use? And then let's change this group color maybe to gray. It's done. We don't need any color in there. Let's go back to our form. And let's now do our QA. Okay. We have built a really nice form. We have some of the things that we've talked about, and we are now ready to test it out. Okay, so my name. Now, I will just let you all know that while we can select a date for the entry of this form, we also have the option from our board to put in a column that is specifically created to track the date that an item was created. So I'll show you this way first, and then we'll go back and we'll add in that column, which is the date created column, and you'll see how that could work. So 10-3 for demonstration's sake. Let's select sales this time. I'm a sales manager. Yes, I have completed training. I'm going to be a little bit lazy here and just populate some dates. So let's say maybe problem solving. And let's say I was a dynamo. I did all of these in one day. Let's take a look at some training opportunities. So maybe conflict resolution, time management, and data analysis. How would I like to receive training? For this one, I'm going to select in person, and I want to do Seattle, Washington, and Austin, Texas. How often do you believe training should be conducted? I'm going to say monthly. There we go. There's the reCAPTCHA that I talked about. I am not a robot. Excellent. Submit. Okay, so now you see my information is populated based on the information that I entered into the form. So I did want to show another option that you have for date, which is the creation log. So what you would just need to do, and let me slow this down just a little bit more. So I just clicked on the ellipsis to the right-hand side of my date column, and I'm going to add a column to the right. In my search bar, I just typed in date, just because I know that I'm going to get some form of column related to timelines here. Add to board, and now you can see that the system has identified me. The WorkOS has identified me as the creator, and it logs the date that I created that item. I will note that with the creation log, you will not see it on the work form. So what I mean by that is I can actually get rid of date. Yep, we'll get rid of it. My form will now update to reflect that I have gotten rid of the date. And let's open this back up in a new tab. And you can share this in many different ways, but let's open it back up in a new tab. And now let's put someone else in. So, and let's put John in human resources, maybe an HR coordinator. And maybe he hasn't had the opportunity to attend any training. So you see what's happened here? Let's click back off of that. I select no, as we want it to have happen. And then now you can select a barrier. So we've selected calendar constraints. Okay, so those are the three options that John is interested in. Let's do webinars, just so we get a bit of a variety. Quarterly. Excellent. Type that in. Submit after we select our reCAPTCHA. Notice we took out the redirect, so we are not being redirected anywhere. We'll come back over to our main table. And there you go. Okay. So we're dynamically getting that information as we need to. So I think we can stop here for this session. When we come back in the next session, we'll take a look at being able to pull in that information and start doing data analysis with that. We'll take a look at different ways that we can integrate the Monday.com WorkOS with our form submissions so that we can take actions or use different tools that will help us then better support this workflow. And then we'll also take a look at the way that we can integrate automations with this. So thank you all for watching. I really hope that this added value and this is something that you feel like you can take and integrate into your own workflow. Let me know some thoughts that you have in the comments, and we'll meet again soon. Thanks, everyone.